What's going on, homies?
What's up?
First time in a long time, and you're seeing Milt's face for the first time on stream. I know he's posted a couple of
What
his
up?
facials, for lack of a better word, on Twitter. But it's been a minute, so now you got the boys
Yeah.
back.
What's up? What's up?
We haven't
It's
hit
been a
this
while.
crazy ass duo in months.
I know.
But we're here for it.
I feel like my flow took a market turn into the weeds from not doing these. So I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, and you've been playing with some good filters that I've seen as well, which is
Yeah.
good. And for those of you who don't know, let me pull up my screen just super quick. Uh there's a new channel in the Unusual Whales Discord server called Filters and Config. It would help if
Oh.
I put the right thing on screen. There we
Shut
go.
up quickly.
There we go. And this has actually been a really good add to the Discord. A ton of people are in here sharing their filters, how they use their filters. I love it. I love seeing people share stuff with each other, get a little bit better at the information with each other. I'm a big fan. Boy, oh boy, my Pookie Bear Milt, says Brian Lamb. Like, what's up,
What
Pookie?
up,
What's that
Brian?
movie? What's that movie? Is that oh oh maybe it's one of the older Transformers movies?
They're transformed.
What the hell's his name? That family that's always like freaking out about the FBI. I can't even think of the
What?
damn actor's name.
Beetlejuice?
No, what? No, oh yeah, okay, that Beetlejuice. It's not that. But he just like screams
Beetlejuice.
Pookie.
You're thinking of Beetlejuice. Yeah, Beetlejuice.
No, he's this is your brain on drugs.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. It does like the egg. That'll
Yeah, I
come to
can't
me.
think of what it is.
It
I
always
think
does.
I think it might be the Transformers movie. But that's neither here nor there. We get derailed real easy when we get together.
It's
But
true.
we're just gonna kind of do the same old that we used to do on the old Twitch streams. We'll just go through some flow. I think Milt's gonna go over his new filters.
Yeah.
Flow
Yeah.
alert filter, right?
Yeah. I've been using flow alerts more than flow feed,
I've
actually.
been very married to my interval flow.
Hmm.
I'm a
And
fan of interval.
you will have to tell me what that is at some point.
I have it on my screen right now so they can see it as well. It's pretty simple. All it is you set up your filters however you want, whether it's like just one of your generic normal flow filters.
Mhm.
I don't know if we can put alerts in here yet, keyword yet, but we already have that customizable on the flow alerts page.
Okay.
But the interval flow is you're just picking any contracts fitting your filters that hit within a time frame, and that's the interval. So right now this filter that I have is set to 10 minutes just because I like it to be less noisy on my interval
Okay.
flow.
Mhm.
But you can set it to 5, 10, or 30 minutes, and anything that hits your filters. So in this case, I have a minimum volume of 500. I want the volume to be at least 100% of the open interest because I want to see the potential for new trades to come in. And I want them all to hit within that 10-minute interval because then, if there's a ton of hits on that one contract, I'm getting
Mhm.
one hit in my feed rather than 30, 40, 50, however the hell
Sure.
many orders come in that meet the criteria.
Sure.
And it helps me, you know how you can kind of see in the raw flow feed, you can kind of see within those timestamps orders that are likely related based on those
Yeah.
fills. This
Yeah.
this cuts that part out for you. It just lumps them
Okay.
together automatically. But all right, I'm curious. We've got 30 homies kicking it. It's kind of hit or miss on the YouTube, either 30, either 100, either 30. But no matter what, if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. I see one flow request. We'll get to flow requests after Milt's little primer on his new flow alert filters. I haven't seen these yet either, so I'm curious as hell. I'm going to flip back to Milt's screen here. Or shut his face off, same thing.
Filter settings live.
He's out there doing the tweeting.
Yeah. Okay. I let him know. All right. Okay. So for me, I have two that I mainly use now. Right. One is called Becky Sauce. The other one is Becky. So just to let you guys know, right? Like Becky Sauce regular is if I do regular or ultra or something, it just means that I'm shortening the expiration window, right? So like for this first one, for example, let's go to just the original. The first one was called, I think, the Atom filter, right? Like that was my original one. And so settings for that were just like basically 5% outside the money, expiring within 40 days, 5% or more outside the money, expiring within 40 days, volume greater than OI, of course, that kind of thing. And it would give me like a decent amount to look at. What I also had on here, which is something Brad taught me way back in the day, or I should say Stoner taught me that Brad relayed to him, I was having the low historic volume filter on. So if I want to get more like wide-in results, right, the low historic volume floor, then I might just turn that off. So it's a big one to know about, but you get less. So I widened things up a little bit with the Becky sauce. And then that one had like, because it was 40 days off, because it was 40 days out, it was giving me like a huge amount of results, right? Which is good if you want to get something directionally out. So like here, for example, we could see, okay, heading into CPI tomorrow, seeing a lot of bearishness headed out, right? Like it's just something to note. Could be hedging, could be something else. But I wanted to get something a little bit closer, so let's focus on the Becky Sauce Ultra. So the Ultra is like, same thing, right? So you're looking at, for this one, I'm looking at 5% outside the money, but during expiring within 14 days, right? So there's three things like I was talking about in a video that I did yesterday, right? Like there's, I think a lot of the times with flow, people kind of get messed up because they don't know what they're looking for, what the different kinds of things are. So I have different filters to kind of show me the different things. So like, if I'm just looking for market sentiment or direction and stocks that people think might pop or drop based on that sentiment, then I'm going to go with the like Atom filter, Becky Ultra, something that gives me like a window of 40 days, something that's a little bit closer to in the money. So I might make it for like 3% out, right? That's one type of whale trade. The one thing to know is that 90% of the trades that you get or hit on whales, 80%, aren't going to be like traditional like M&A kind of plays, like big news, something like that, right? Like it's not really how it breaks down. The vast majority of the hits that I've had have been just sentiment, like market sentiment that was correct, and then the stocks that had the most to gain from that market sentiment. So that's something to know. A lot of people play for news. It's not going to be most of the things that you find. So the other filters that I have, if I have something for 5 to 7% outside the money I'm looking for, then that would be something in the range of like, I guess I'll call them weaker catalysts, but they're still strong. But something like a upgrade or initiating coverage, right? So like we got a firm for like 400% a couple weeks ago, and I pretty much knew it was going to be an upgrade. Carvana, right? When Carvana hit that day, we knew it was going to be an upgrade. So there's generally sentiment, upgrades, coverage, stuff like that, or news like you can't really expect, like, but that's not like a big M&A kind of thing. Like for example, like Shaq becomes a spokesperson for DraftKings, and then DraftKings goes up like 5%, right? Like something like that. And then the other one would be, of course, like the one everyone wants to catch, M&A, right? So that's like your big time trades. It's like your Ubozeng is like all that kind of stuff where something major happens. So the thing to know though is that like when you're setting these filters, the more urgency you set it for, the more you're going to catch specifically those like M&A kind of plays, right? So like if I want something that's, let's say, so like if I have like the Becky Sauce Ultra, right, which is within 2 weeks, what I refer to as urgency settings or anything that expires soon and that is far outside the money, right? And that's not earnings, because that indicates something that's urgent. They think that it's going to happen now. They think it's going to be big, right? So if I have my urgency settings, which are my expiration and my percent outside the money, set to something that's soon and high, then I'm going to get more plays that might be something like magical happening, right? For lack of a better term. So here with the Becky Ultra, let's just look through really quick. 14 days, 5% outside the money. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of SMCI because it clogs it. So it already became like, I'm going to get rid of Carvana because like someone's like obsessed with Carvana right now. Okay, so now we have like a good look at what's happening today, right? So we've got, and keep in mind that we have CPI tomorrow. So we've got this ESTA, low historic volume floor, 40 puts trading at 42.25 or 144,000. That's interesting. I'm going to look at them because they have a low historic volume floor, right? So trying to look here to see if they have any like high OI. So this 920.35 put is high open interest. I'm going to click on it. They didn't enter it recently, so it doesn't matter. 45, 22.5, 920. I was trying to see if any of these were entered recently, because then they would give kind of credence to what we saw. So not seeing anything entered recently that's super far outside the money. Not seeing any volume on anything really, except for those whatchamacallits. Although I do see people moving out of the 47.5s, right? And that's about it for that one. So I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and hard it so that I can tweet about it if it's, even though I'm not buying it. Oh, I can't hard it here, can I? Okay. And then the next one's EWW Square. So Dell, obviously, Dell 114, coming in 128K, expiring next week. That's pretty far outside the money, but Dell's been getting a lot of stuff. You guys are already covering it, so I'm not going to look at it. Square, the 57 put, 51K, that could be just like a hedge. What is this dip start CPST? 913.24, 82 put, trading at 90 for 265K. Don't mind if I do. Let's look and see if they have anything else interesting happening in the trend. Let's see. Well, it could be related to see these 100. No, these 100 calls were sold probably. 913 calls. If these were sold and these were bought, I wonder if they're
Pretty
related.
low open interest.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, but the 100s are super cheap. I don't think these were related. Oh yeah, this is like nothing. Okay. Could be a hedge for a downside move. Wait, what is this trading at? 89? Why am I seeing like 144 calls? Sold. I don't know what that means. It's probably some weird strategy I don't know about. But these 50s are interesting, but they sold them. Okay, so I don't like that one. It's not clean enough. And then Boot, 67K. Foot Locker for 69K, which is interesting. Repeated hits, 26 calls, 26. Let's go set sort the premium down to positive.
FL flow can get kind of wild sometimes too. I think I remember a couple years ago, people really just flooding the hell.
Yeah, I got bagged pretty bad on Foot Locker on puts once. Look at this. I mean, 26 isn't that far outside the money, but it's still like 5% for the 920. We'll look at what else is on their chain.
If you want something that's really far out the money, somebody asked about RH Flow. They have earnings coming up, and they have the $460 call for 920 with about just under 7,000 open interest. And a lot of it is trading ask side, and those are absolutely zeroed out now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like that's a little out of the money because I think RH is trading at like 243, and these are 460s for 920. That's a little, that might be pushing it, but who knows? I guess.
RH is funny because it always has like really RH has really interesting flow, and I always watch it, and it doesn't do anything. Let's see. I'm gonna go to the flow alerts.
I have the RH open just so those in here can see what I was referring to. You can see over time since early August, these have been getting pinged, mostly ask side. The only bid side heavy days happened at the very beginning of August here. And since then, just really small orders, 100 here. That one was 350 coming in mostly bid side. On 8/13, there was 1,000, almost entirely all at the ask. So they appear bought. Let me go click on that actual day, 8/14. There's the 8/13. Oh no, yeah, it is the 8/13. carried over into open interest on 8/14. So yeah, here we go. Small size, small premium, 180. Kind of an ugly bid-ask spread, 15 to 40, but these were filling right at 40. I don't know that. I mean, I guess at this point it was quite a bit farther dated, but it's 80% out of the money at the time of fill. And currently it's not much different. It's actually farther out of the money now. RH is currently trading at let me see again, 243.17 per share, and these are 460s. They're that's like 85% out of the money now compared to when these originally filled. I don't know that I would have any kind of high confidence on this kind of flow. This could be somebody short a bunch of shares hedging that. It could be a bunch of anything, but I feel like on a stock this expensive, 85% jump in 10 days, unless they're super sneaky, know everything about everything, and something crazy is going to hit at earnings, I'm not convinced in those 460s. Somebody asked about the 320s. What about those 320 call 920? Yeah, go ahead.
After FL, I want you to take a look at the FL volume today. It looks weird.
Yeah.
After.
So we had 1,000 at the ask back on 9/4. Most of it is ask side and not really any volume ever since. So we can confidently say this was a brand new position back on the 4th. It carried over into open interest. That position is still open. I want to see the timing of the fills. Falls outside of the historical. So I will not be looking at the timing of the fills until I have that, which it should be hopefully soon. But I mean, we're looking, let me go back to that 320. Nope, that's the 913. He wanted 320 for 920. So just looking at the historical volume and open interest, yes, new position, yes, most likely bought to open. Vast majority of that came in at the ask. I want to be able to see those timing of all of the orders, but we'll worry about that later. They're down anywhere. Let me see where that average fill was. At 268, and these traded as low as 180 today. So they're down about 50% on these 320s. And when is RH earnings? I think it was this earnings. 12th. So in 2 days they have earnings in after hours. And just looking at their expected move here, if you go back to Q4 2022 through Q2 of 23, they fell within their expected move that the options contracts were pricing in. Outside of that, they've both gone higher than the expected move and significantly lower than the expected move. And so statistically, it's sitting at 4 for 7 that are outside of that anticipated move priced in by the options market. So I'm curious to see what happens there. We got 2 days for their earnings. 320 is pretty out of the money. What is their implied move? Plus or minus $28 or 11.5%. 320 might be a bit ambitious if they beat. And not only if they beat, because as you all know, you can kill it on earnings and investors still dump the stock. There's too many things going on in there to know for sure what they're going to do. But I'd say, roughly 50-50 chance that they fall within the anticipated move or outside of it. But that's all I got on RH. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of earnings unless there's something really crazy obvious out there. Holy crap, that's definitely something going on type flow, which we certainly don't have on RH. Not a big fan of RH flow going into earnings. What is that FL I'm looking at?
With no bias, just look at today's volume and tell me if it looks a little funky to you.
On the
Especially given the
27.5. 27.5 weekly this week.
Sorry, my mute was on. I'm seeing all these small, really outside the money things popping off.
Oh.
But the main contract is the 26th, I believe it was. That's for next week.
Those 27.5s appear to have had some spreads hitting on them.
Hmm.
So you're looking at the flow on the 27.5 for 9/13 from yesterday. The entire thing is a spread, it looks like. Let me see what they're doing. It looks like they're selling to open the 28 call, buying to open the 27 call. Looks like they got a little Debbie spread going on here.
Okay, that was all. that was it.
Did you have any hits from your yeet?
We had a 1 day on Carvana. Oh, GitLab, GTLB was big. GTLB was like a multi-bagger. I found GTLB, so I didn't play it for earnings, but they had earnings that following week. But the way that I found GitLab was minorly interesting. There was stupid, you know when the thing blocks you from being able to like click stuff?
Yeah.
Thing up top. Okay. I don't think it was necessarily marked as low historic volume floor. But what I noticed was that GitLab was getting all this volume and all these high on all the high chains were like 10% outside the money, even though it wasn't that much money at all. It was like they kept doing it. So it'd be like 40,000 on the 55 call 2 weeks out while I was trading at 45. And I saw like 10,000, I'd see like 50,000 on the 52. It was everything was at least 5% outside the money,
right,
all across the strikes. So then I was in it, and then I waited until earnings and saw like what was happening into it. And again, I don't really play earnings because they're a gamble. But then people kept like in the days leading into it, people kept on adding to it, right? Like there's also a little bit of play what you know because I know I've gotten to know GitLab very well over the past year. So I know that like everyone's using it, but the bottom line of it is like look for, so even though there are 50,000 orders, the cumulative, which I put in the yeet actually, let me see here. So if I go, tell me I have low system resources, because I'm not on my Mac. So if I go to, what? I just clicked on the post, I think. I thought, okay, here we go. Okay, so if I view post.
Milt's just flexing his stats.
Yeah, so here we go. So BTA, right? So because so the 50C, 830, and then the 55C, 52C, 55C all had like 110K in cumulative premium. But the point I want to point out here is that it was cumulative premium, right? So there was like a sweep at 940, and at the end of the day, there was another 30K run on the 49.5C. So I did a little bit more digging, and it showed that the highest volume contract the previous session had been the 52C, and then the second highest volume was the 55C. And then because the earnings was the next week, I noticed everyone rolled their contracts into the following week. So when I saw that, I knew that people were expecting a bullish move. And also just look at the chart, right, round and bottom reversal. But the key for me was like just digging around these contracts, right? Because each of them on their own was only like 40,000, 50,000, but cumulatively it was 110,000 in deep outside the money premium all in 1 day for GitLab, which let me know that people probably knew something was coming. That's kind of how I got to that. And then the other one was ENPH, was pretty big that morning, just making sure you know where your reclaims are, but that's a whole lesson that I don't have time to get into. But again, it was looking at small orders. So one thing I try to tell people to do with their alerts is, or with their flow filters, start with them small if you're not finding anything. And the reason why is because, so on the 131C, 132C, and 134C for ENPH, each of these was only, so if you look at it right, like you only saw these if you filtered your flow for 20,000 or for like really 15,000 or above, right? Or 10,000 even. Otherwise, you would have missed these. So you missed 18, 22. It was 90K in cumulative premium, but you wouldn't have seen it if your filter was set for 90K. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
So
think
like
so.
one thing I always tell people, you don't want small orders, but set your filter screen smaller because I can't tell you how many plays that have hit that have been from looking at, I'll set it at like 10,000, 20,000, and then I'll go click on the order and I'll see within that there was another like 5,000, 10,000, all in the same like minute because they're part of the same order, but they get broken up by the brokerage. So that's probably like the biggest tip I could give you from those past couple of weeks is keep your filter settings small, not to take small orders, but to be able to see if there's more orders of interest. Because I would have missed this play if I would have had these set for 20,000 or above. I wouldn't have got it. It's my Milt tip for the day.
My bad, I was muted because if I'm too loud, there's an echo. And that echo is absolute ear destruction. So, JCRFT says, will you be sharing these filters? Yeah, I'll drop both of these filters into the description of the video once we're done, and I'll also tweet them out and tag Milt so he can retweet it so you guys can see the filters we went over. My interval flow is if it's not too proprietary. Yeah. We'll share those at the end of the stream here. The characters are too long to put into chat, so I can't just drop it there, but definitely will be made public. And if you go to the education playlist, there is a whole video on interval flow. And in that video description, there's also a link to this exact same filter, as well as the one that we build from scratch in that video. Should be at least somewhat helpful, I hope. I hope. Scrolling, give me 1 second here. I think I saw a question for Milt. Here it is. So the question was, so your confluence was a decent percentage out of the money with 40 to 50,000 premiums per strike, all in the same direction? I think that's in regards.
Did you say all in the same what? Say that one more time. All in the same what?
All in the same direction. So like directionality is either all bullish or all bearish.
Correct, right? So like all in the same direction, all deep outside the money, all the same ticker, all within the same window of expiration.
Whoa.
This and for a ticker that it wasn't listed as low store volume floor, but you can just kind of look an eyeball if the ticker gets a lot of attention or not, like outside the money like that. And this was not a usual occurrence.
Right. And so when this one's actually a question for me. When you have your DTE, I know you're generally looking a month or closer. What is your ideal expiration range for your film?
For me?
Yeah.
I love 2 to 4 weeks. I love 2 to 4 weeks, or I like seeing if it's, how do I put this? If it's crypto, I like within a week. I usually know if I see something for crypto that's within like a week expiration, it's usually pretty good for something. As far as generally though, I'm looking at between 20 to 40 days out. I'm giving more credence to the 40 days, but I'm using the 20 days to kind of find more, or the 14 days to find more like interesting stuff. But again, that time frame relates to what I was talking about in the beginning, right? Which is like, what are we looking for? So like, I do like 14 to 40, but I know that if I find something for 14, I'm looking for more like M&A, big news kind of things, which is what? Higher percentage profit, lower percentage consistency. Whereas if it's further out, I know that I'm looking at something that might be lower profit, but higher percentage of hitting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, you trade those two things off. So that's why, like, if you see like, oh my gosh, this person just went like 20% outside the money on DraftKings and it expires in 4 days. If it hits, you and that whale are going to be rich. But, right, what is the trade-off? There's a lower percentage chance of it actually hitting. You have to understand those are the trade-off with this kind.
Makes sense to me. So something that I think we can do here, Milt, while we wait for a couple of other direct flow or chart requests to come in, I'm going to just pull up this NVIDIA trade that I saw today quick. So earlier today, you can even just see him. I popped them up here on my screen for you guys. Or did I?
Or did I?
I didn't. I'm still getting the hang of using the switchboard that I got. But we had a nice double tap here on these $107 calls for October 4th. Now, why this is interesting is we had 3,000 open interest, but this very first volume bar here that I clicked to open the flow, again, this is from my aggregated trades filter. I'll tweet it out after the end of the show, and I'll put that in the description as well. So I'm looking for trades that are hitting my volume target and ask side specifically for this filter. And this one came in all within these 2 5-minute intervals. We had massive double tap for 5,000 and another for 5,000. Yet again, here you can see on these volume bars, 50.96 on that one, 50.59 on that one. Now, before we hit right here, you can see the ask of that 5,096. Before that was higher than the 3,000 open interest. Hypothetically, some of those orders could have been positional closures. However, in that one time interval, and in many cases at the exact same time stamp, like these right here, all at 12:19:37 Central Time, exact same time stamp, and then less than 21 seconds later, that next one tapped the tape, good and hard, all at the ask. Not only at the ask, we have an ascending fill as well. As that bid ask changes upward, the fill prices are changing upwards. So they had like an average fill of $5.99 on the second series of orders, and they had an average fill of $5.89 on the first series of orders. Fairly confident we're looking at a new position here. I'm also fairly confident these are more likely to be bought than sold because of those fill prices. Now, as I always say, an at the ask transaction doesn't necessarily mean with 100% certainty that it is to open. The likelihood is significantly higher. Excuse me, that it's being bought. It's significantly higher. You can gauge the open via the volume versus open interest. In this case, we've got 12,413 volume on the day versus only 3,041 open interest. We crossed open interest with volume while these orders were still coming in. Fairly positive we're looking at new positions. And on top of that, they're already up a little bit. So let's just, for the sake of simplicity, they got in the second series of orders at $5.99. We're currently trading at $6.40. So they're already up 41 bucks per contract on that 5,000. So I'm sure they're not too upset about that. What I'm curious about is, I know NVIDIA is obviously always just the talk of the town. People are always really excited about NVIDIA, and we haven't had a flow and charting twofer in a minute. So if you feel up to it, I'd be curious to see what the NVIDIA chart looks like in reference to these 107 calls. And now again, we were trading at 106.55 when these filled. And so I'm curious if maybe we're looking at somebody who's trying to catch that momentum pump that we saw going into end of day. Because they're at 106.55, barely even out of the money. 50 cents on a $106 stock isn't really that much of a move. So not very far out of the money at all. And now they're almost $1 in the money. And so I'm curious if there's any tells on the chart that could have assisted somebody in shadowing trades like.
Let's see. Do I did it? Oh, my low system resources, of course, strike again. Let's see if we go so low.
It'll help a lot if you close a good half of those tabs.
I know.
Chrome is eating your.
Yeah.
So Chase Rice says, my hunch on those types
Oh wait,
of trades.
do I need to have Discord open actually? I don't, do I?
No, you don't. Nope.
Yeah, because Discord eats a ton. Okay.
So Chase, to your question, or sorry, to your comment, the hunch on those types of trades, someone selling covered calls into a resistance level, it could be. I would definitely be leaning toward these being bought, not sold. I don't think that these are being sold against shares. I think they're being bought to catch upside momentum. And that's strictly because of the way these orders filled. They all filled directly on the ask, so the odds are much more likely that they were bought. Not guaranteed, but much more likely. Week 2 of BTA, the quest for... So, Milt, if you're feeling spicy, is it going to let you pull open charts? Is you're going to set on fire?
I got, so NVIDIA should be sharing, right?
Right now you are sharing your estimated revenue from the year.
Okay. That's funny. Well, there it is.
I got it blocked off. You're fine.
Okay. Let's see. Pretty nice.
Now I have the FL flow.
Why is it not showing the? Do I need to? Let me see if I.
It might force you to share it.
Oh, okay. Here we go. I just gotta switch the screen and sharing.
Boom! Now we have NVIDIA.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna take a quick look at the chart basics here, right? Oh, so these I had these up because these were the monthlies, right? I believe.
Oh, they have a nice little bouncy poo at that 102.55 after wicking it.
Yeah, make it yellow too. It was all yellow. All right, so NVIDIA. So it's funny up here because like it's got so many, right? It's like got so much room before it goes anywhere, which is like both a good thing and a bad thing, right? Depending on who you are, depending on how you feel about them. Trying to get me to write a note during our meeting. Okay. Stop that.
And this time you can't even blame our charts. This is all you, baby.
I know. It kept alting between this and Zoom and being like, no, you want to type in Zoom. It's like, obviously I don't. Okay, so let's see. So Zoom has fallen through the monthly here. Right now, it looks to me like, if I'm being honest, it's basing a right shoulder on this hourly to head down and hit this 90.69 level. But that being said, it looks like before it does that, there's a very good chance. Here, let me explain the price action like this. Right, so the way the price action works is like this. Monthlies generally need to be like tagged and retested. So you actually never saw them retest this top monthly if this level is accurate here at, let's see how accurate my 111.99 level is really quick. It is accurate. So that would mean that they actually have just as good of a chance of going up here, back testing, coming down before they do, which would put this at like 112 on like a pretty good SPY day, right? I think ultimately though, and they missed this back test to the upside too. NVIDIA could actually go, I'm gonna take back what I first said. The reason why is because it's being constructive here, right, along this movement. So what you could see them likely do is, where's my stupid thing? So what you could see them do, right, is like they come here and then they could go down, or what is more likely, probably because they got to back test this, is you see them come up here, back test this, and then come down.
They take her all the way to that 116 to 116.52 range. I imagine the 107 trader would be ecstatic. Now, right. I could see here on the hourly, I could maybe see the argument for a bear flag, but I think I agree with you. The bounce seems more likely. I'm just looking at this from a scalper's perspective, so I rarely use the hourly chart at all. But if I saw this pattern on the 1 minute or the 3 minute, I personally would likely be looking to get into a long to at least test that 112 level, where they tried to find support on the drop. I'm a little more risk averse though. I could see Milt entering a position and holding until they die or hit that 116.
Exactly.
I'm a lot more risk averse. If I were in something like this, which would most likely be a swing, who knows with NVIDIA though, because it can just rip or dump for no reason. But I think I agree. It seems more likely they want to bounce out of this range before back testing at 97 level.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look here, right, they're setting higher lows and stuff. It's just this. So this is actually one of the things that we've been talking about recently. The smart thing to do, which might not be as profitable as risking it, right? Would be to wait for a reclaim of probably like this little wick level right here, right? And if they held that on the hourly, then you would know for sure it was probably going up. But anything before that is kind of taking a chance. You know what I mean? Although really all you're doing is following trend. But this right here would be the real like trigger. Like if you were to get above there, close on the hourly, you're probably squeeze it out. Because he has been like repeated resistance, like one resistance, two resistance, three resistance. So if you get above that area and you hold for once, then you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think I'd be inclined to make it.
Yeah.
And I don't really have the balls to ever shorten video anyway, especially after the last like what year and a half. I don't think I have that in me.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, the thing is though, like it's like if you can time the short that's coming right, you're pretty good. Because look how, not to take us in a different direction, but SPY has a gap.
Yeah, just a little.
Right from at 535, 78, 56, 36, 23. But it also has this massive gap on the daily, right? That like no one's talking about, down from 506.91 to 503.94, 504.3. We have rejected now. That is a double top and a half. And then also, if you were to take it down to like the hourly time frame, we rejected multiple times here, right? Like that area ain't coming back, brother. It's gone. So like if you look at it then from an ES perspective, right? What's happening now, I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you guys the future here. So you can choose to listen, you can choose to ignore it. As I watch APLS just
Ryan says it ain't a Milt stream without mentions of gaps.
No,
I just to be an irritant and devil's advocate a little bit. Aren't there like countless SPY gaps dating back like 50 years that just never got tested?
No.
No.
No. That was the best response I could get. Was just simply no.
Jcraft brought up ALLY, the 30 put for 1018. I saw those this morning too. Did you have more on NVIDIA chart?
No, go ahead.
All right, word. I saw those too. My thing is Ally has already had its worst day today since 2020. I believe JPM also had its worst day since 2020. What are we trading at now? -19. They're actually, I'm going to head over to the seasonality page just in case you guys didn't know that this was a thing on the seasonality page now. You can see the day-by-day historical changes and ranges, so the daily distribution of their changes, or essentially like on the daily chart, if you will. Today, we're currently just about 5% off of their worst day in recent history. And again, that was back in March of 2020. I wonder what happened then. Today, they're at -18% versus their worst at -23.21 back in March of 2020. I'm not someone who likes to chase. Now, Milt, I'll probably make you chart Ally, and it might be the last one we have time for after I pull up this exact contract, because this contract also showed up in my interval flow feed. And actually, my interval flow feed's been noisier than usual today. Usually I get about 10 hits on these, and I've got like 25 today. All right, where are we at? I know I had that Ally. There it is, $30 put for 1018. Yeah, I'm definitely of the mind these are bought to open. Definitely significantly more ask side transactions going on. And I believe the transactions that hit in that time interval also started at ask. Let's see, 1252. Only a minute prior, we had other hits that were bid side as well. If the time interval here is like really close, in this case, it's a couple of minutes. It could go either way. I tend to err on the side of what orders hit first. But in this case, there's enough time in between them that I don't think that these bid side transactions that came in a minute and a half prior, I don't necessarily think they're the same trader. So this could be two entirely separate positions. But again, this is just shortened the hole, so to speak. They're down 18% today, and actually I think these guys that bought to open or likely bought to open are down a little. 113. Well, yeah, they're only down $1 per contract. But I'm not someone who likes to chase. So we're down 18% on ALLY. Not being much of a long-term chartist, to me, I would consider this, where's their support? How can I try to maybe buy the hole and see if I can time something if they stay within ranges? Not a big fan of chasing puts if something's already down 18%, but that's just me. That's my own risk management rules. I'm not someone who likes to chase unless, like, sometimes I'll chase, intraday. Let's say we're having a nice little V recovery on SPY or something. A nice little back test of the range they broke out of. I might chase that long. On Ally, I'm not a big fan of buying puts when it's already having its worst day in 4 years. But that's just me, and I could be wrong as hell. They could just keep going. Who knows? Maybe Milt knows. He's better at charts.
Well, so I mean, it is bear flagging, right? It looks like they're testing. So I'm just going back and looking at the areas of consolidation that's testing here, right? So like, here's one. So what you want to look for is if it holds or folds on these levels, right? So like here, there's kind of a make or break hour for them, right? Because if they low system resources. So here, it looks like they're trying to hold this level right now. So if this goes, right, then they're going down to the next one. I would say that if they get a close beneath 3250 today, it probably fairly definitively signals it's going to bear flag rather than reverse. But again, like the IV is going to be high on them and stuff like that. But I mean, this is bear flagging clearly. But the thing you have to watch out for in a bear flag like this is that if the index has a good day, then they're going to back test these moves, right? So like it could be a very large bearish consolidation, but it does look like they're going to back test some of those levels from this previous rip, like down here.
Dude, entirely unrelated. But one of my neighbors is just blaring money trees right now. A Halle Berry, a hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I haven't heard that song in a minute.
Me neither, and it's loud. I'm surprised my mic's not picking it up. Out there jamming, dude.
Like a decade ago, I remember I dated someone. She was like, she didn't know the name of the song. She's like a Becky. She'd be like, "Play your bish, play your bish,
your bish, your bish." Well, boom. Well, hell, I think this was a pretty good one. First time back in months, eh?
Yep. Hey.
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 Milt's gonna be. Oh, I actually, real quick, if you want to pull up SPY again right before we head out, I will allow you the last final minutes here to gloat about that SPY trade and pretend that luck wasn't involved at all.
Yeah. So yeah, we had today, right? It looked pretty rough for a second because I've gone with the 547C. But just to show you guys really quickly, so it was really easy, and I just want to show you guys how you can do this for yourselves. It doesn't let me. I need this thing to like hide. This thing at the top, hide video panel. No, not that one. Hide floating. There it is. Hide floating meeting controls. Okay, so if I go to like ES, right?
Although it is kind of funny, I just want to point out real small is that sometimes you'll use ES for charting when trading SPY. I do somewhat similar when trading futures. I use the net premiums for the indices SPY and QQ, as well as the market tide as a whole when I'm scalping intraday on futures. So it's like there's definitely a major disconnect between the two in a lot of ways, but they're pretty interrelated.
Right, they're pretty. They one hand washes the other, as they say.
Yeah.
So SPY, right? The reason why we knew it was really, really easy. This is like a classic hourly, weekly, right? So these are weekly levels, just top and bottom level of each wick. Here you had the hourly break through, come up, and then reject. So you knew it was going to come down to this next weekly level, right? Once you saw the weekly reject here, around here is where I said we're probably going to have a blow off top. It's because they tested this level, they rejected it, but then they supported this level. So now the large likelihood is that they're going to come back above and test the next levels up because they didn't go back down just to come back up and then go back down again. So this was a test. They passed this test, and now they're cleared to go to the next one. It was as easy as a trade can get as far as like on the indices for going long. So you just weekly level breaks through, fails the retest, you know you're going to the next one, passes, you know you're going to the next one up. I probably could have picked a better color. Super simple. I felt very good about that trade today. I'm glad it worked out. And then I'm gonna put, so I have like 2 or 3 whale videos that I just haven't been able to load on the Twitter because I wasn't able to figure it out. I'm gonna load up today, but then also I have a couple spy ones too about this stuff that I'll load up today too. So yeah, on the main Twitter, so everyone can see it.
On the main. The main, like the band?
The man, like, did you say like the band?
Yeah, just pull out your flannel.
Yeah.
Flannel and your beanie.
Flannel.
All right, guys, let's wrap this bad boy up. I'll be back next week, I think, at the 6 p.m. Eastern slot with Dan, and I'll start working more Milt in here, too, whenever he's free.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys. Bye, everyone.
Good to shoot the shit, do a little roasting.
Yep, later, guys.
All right, guys. Catch you guys next week. Thanks for kicking it.